Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, has been apprehended by law enforcement, and her legal proceedings are imminent. Theresa Caputo, the prominent figure from the television series Long Island Medium, has recently garnered attention due to an unforeseen event. She has been apprehended by law enforcement for a personal error and is presently incarcerated. Theresa's family has exhibited varied responses upon the announcement of her detention. Certain family members appear to have experienced a measure of relief from the episode, as if long-standing grievances have been partially mitigated. Conversely, numerous individuals are shattered and wounded by witnessing their loved ones in such a condition. Social media has been rife with speculation regarding the incident. Certain fans are supporting Theresa, while others are vehemently condemning her behavior. The court will now determine Theresa's destiny. The trial is imminent, and it has garnered significant attention. Will Theresa succeed in extricating herself from this predicament? Will it alter the trajectory of her life permanently? Only time will reveal the outcome. As dawn barely illuminated Long Island, shocking news emerged. Theresa Caputo, the cherished figure of Long Island medium, had been apprehended. It was not due to a violent incident. It was not a fraudulent scheme. However, it was a grave error, a misjudgment that escalated uncontrollably. Initially, the details were ambiguous. It was known that Theresa had been apprehended for fabricating a document pertaining to a client session, an error she had intended to rectify, but ultimately did not. The arrest reverberated across her followers. For almost 10 years, Theresa has linked bereaved families with the spiritual domain. She was perceived as authentic, kind, and frequently selfless. However, the headlines were now less favorable. Medium incarcerated, spirit communicator, or legal offender? Caputo's crisis, the demise of Long Island's cherished psychic? The internal division within her residence, her family, was in turmoil. Her son, Larry Jr., remained by her side, characterizing the entire event as a misunderstanding that escalated. He visited her daily, frequently departing from the jail with tears in his eyes. However, her cousin Angela, who had long harbored resentment towards Theresa's prominence and its impact on the family dynamics, held a contrasting perspective. She consistently believed herself to be superior to others. Angela informed a gossip blog. Perhaps this will ground her. Her former spouse, Larry Sr., issued a succinct statement. "I understand Theresa's heart. She is not a criminal. However, we all err." Her new partner, Tony, a reserved chiropractor from Connecticut, opted to stay out of the limelight but was allegedly devastated and fully supportive of her. As her trial date neared, throngs commenced assembling outside the courthouse. Protesters brandished signs both endorsing and denouncing her. Internally, Theresa seemed wan yet composed. Her characteristic golden hair was secured, and her previously lively vitality appeared diminished. The prosecution charged her with deliberately deceiving a bereaved client by falsifying a legal release for a private session that contained sensitive personal disclosures. Her defense attorney contended that it was merely a clerical error, a document misfiled and subsequently rectified in haste. The attorney asserted, however, the intent was never malevolent. She was inundated, emotionally fatigued, and inherently human. Theresa maintained silence throughout the majority of the trial, but on the third day, she testified. With tears in her eyes, she spoke to the courtroom. "I have assisted thousands in attaining tranquility. However, that does not imply I am exempt from accountability. I erred. I did not want to do harm to anyone. Nonetheless, I acknowledge my accountability if I did." The courtroom became quiet. The online environment was more tumultuous. Supporters congregated under hashtags such as Free Theresa and Media Matters, but detractors alleged emotional manipulation and spiritual deception. Several former clients have presented testimonials of support. "She rescued me after the loss of my daughter," one woman stated. Others were less benevolent. "I now question the authenticity of any of it," one tweet stated. Judgment and consequences. The judgment was delivered on a rainy Thursday. Theresa was convicted. However, the judge recognized the circumstances surrounding the case. She received a sentence of 6 months of community service, 2 years of probation and compulsory counseling sessions. No incarceration. Upon exiting the courthouse, Theresa refrained from making any remarks. However, her eyes were filled with emotion. The forthcoming journey will be arduous. Her show was on an indefinite pause. Her spiritual license was being evaluation. However, in a serene, unbroadcasted instance a week later, she stood on a Long Island beach with her kid, murmuring to the ocean, "Perhaps the spirit has presented this to me for a purpose. Perhaps I had to forfeit everything to recollect what is truly significant." 6 months later, Theresa Caputo commenced offering complimentary public readings for communities affected by bereavement. Prohibition of cameras. Insufficient funds. Only affection. Gradually, individuals commenced the process of forgiveness. They perceived her not as a disgraced celebrity, but as an imperfect, recovering individual, continuously striving to connect and assist. Nonetheless, the room was quiet, laden with expectation. Rows of individuals occupied the theater, eyes wide and hearts racing. The lights gradually dimmed, enveloping the stage in a gentle, otherworldly luminescence. A recognizable silhouette emerged from behind, hair up, heels striking the ground with assurance. Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, has come. She approached the center stage, beaming amiably. "I wish to express my gratitude to all of you for your presence this evening," she stated, her pronounced Long Island accent immediately reassuring. "The spirit has been communicating since I entered. So, let us commence." The crowd comprised both skeptics and believers, each holding on to memories of cherished individuals they wished to contact. Theresa shut her eyes and inhaled deeply. "Understood. Text, I am sensing a potent energy in this area," she remarked, indicating the central region. A woman experienced the untimely loss of her spouse, maybe due to a heart-related incident, such as a heart attack. Gasps and murmurs circulated around the crowd until a woman in her 50s elevated her hand. "That resembles my husband, Greg," she remarked gently, her eyes brimming with tears. Theresa acquiesced. "He has arrived, dear. He wishes to convey that he did not endure suffering. He is displaying the watch to me. You still possess his watch, correct?" The woman wept uncontrollably. "Indeed, I don it daily." Theresa smiled softly. "He asserts that this is his method of maintaining proximity. He wishes to express his gratitude for conversing with him each night. He perceives you." The woman wept, clutching her chest. Other audience members dabbed their eyes. It beyond mere performance. It was an intimate and profound relationship. Theresa traversed the stage, her enthusiasm captivating. "I now perceive myself as a youthful individual who has succumbed to an accident, perhaps a motorcycle incident. He possesses a substantial presence and is genuinely humorous." A adolescent lad in the front row wept uncontrollably. "My sibling," he murmured. "He passed away last year." Theresa gazed at him. He states, "Inform my brother that I am still observing him, and he must refrain from damaging my dirt bike." The boy wept while laughing. "I utilize it every weekend." "That is his indication to you," Theresa remarked with a smile. "Whenever you sense that breeze, it is he. He accompanies you on the ride." The room transformed. Where pain formerly resided, tranquility now prevailed. Theresa navigated through messages, interlacing experiences of life and loss, joy and grief. She presented a father who lamented his absence in taking his daughter down the aisle, a grandmother who was unable to meet her latest grandson, a deceased best friend providing solace and remorse from beyond. At the conclusion of the evening, Theresa remained still, absorbing the shared sentiment in the room. "Spirit wishes to convey," she stated softly, "that love is eternal. They remain with you consistently." A standing ovation erupted throughout the theater. Individuals were not applauding for entertainment. They were applauding for restoration. As Theresa exited the stage, the lights gradually illuminated, although some alteration in the atmosphere was palpable. Grief has evolved into a bond. Hope supplanted quiet. On that singular, enchanting night, the barrier between this realm and the next appeared somewhat diminished. Nevertheless, it was intended to be merely another joyful, celebrity-filled edition of the Drew Barrymore Show. The audience was abuzz with anticipation, not alone due to Drew's effervescent personality, but also because a distinguished guest was appearing on the show that day, the renowned Long Island medium, Theresa Caputo. Adorned in her characteristic high heels and flowing blonde hair, Theresa exuded her customary warmth and charisma upon her arrival. She welcomed the audience and Drew with a cordial grin and promptly asserted that she was experiencing a strong energy in the studio. Unbeknownst to anyone, Drew's personal hairstylist, Jenna, who had collaborated with her for nearly 5 years, would emerge as the emotional core of the show. As the cameras recorded, Theresa commenced impromptu readings for the crowd but abruptly halted mid-sentence, her demeanor softening. "Pardon me," Theresa remarked, directing her gaze towards the backstage area. "Is there an individual named Jenna? I often hear the name Jenna." In the backstage area, Jenna halted, brush in hand, her eyes widened. She gradually advanced as the crew guided her onto the stage. "That is I," she stated gently. Theresa gazed directly into her eyes. "Have you recently lost your mother?" I observe a woman with gentle eyes, clutching a scarf, while she discusses needlework. Jenna inhaled sharply, her eyes immediately filling with tears. "My mother deceased 6 months prior. She was a seamstress and consistently adorned herself with her preferred silk scarf." The studio became utterly silent as Theresa proceeded. "She wishes to convey that she is with you daily in the salon. She observes you grooming your daughter's hair in the same manner she once groomed yours. She takes pride in the mother you have become." Jenna succumbed to tears, overwhelmed with emotion. Drew approached and embraced her reassuringly. "This is my vocation," Theresa stated softly, her voice slightly trembling. "I merely convey the affection they are transmitting to you." Jenna nodded, tears streaming down her face, yet she smiled. "Thank you. I was unaware of how much I required this today." The audience applauded, with many members visibly emotional. What begun as a standard recording evolved into an indelible, emotionally resonant experience. Drew, evidently affected, concluded the episode by stating, "One can never anticipate when healing will enter one's life, or arrive at one studio adorned with voluminous hair and elevated footwear." The show became viral post-broadcast, with admirers lauding Theresa's talent and Jenna's authentic emotional openness. The reading not only resonated with one woman but also reminded all observers of the unseen connections that persist with those we have lost. From that day forward, Jenna stored her mother's scarf in her hairstyling kit, convinced that each cut of the scissors and each stroke of the brush conveyed a whisper of love from the beyond. Nevertheless, on a brisk autumn afternoon in New York City, the studio audience of the Drew Barrymore Show assembled with anticipation and excitement. They arrived not solely for daily amusement, but for restoration. The guest that day was Theresa Caputo, the acclaimed Long Island medium, recognized for her exceptional talent in communicating with deceased souls. The illumination diminished. Drew Barrymore heartily welcomed the audience, her voice infused with enthusiasm and respect. "Today," she stated, "we are undertaking something exceptionally significant. Theresa Caputo aims to provide solace, tranquility, and resolution to those who continue to bear the burden of grief." The audience burst into cheers, but a profound silence ensued as Theresa ascended the stage, characterized by her distinctive blonde hair and fashionable heels. With her eyes shut and hands slightly elevated, she inhaled deeply. The atmosphere of the room transformed, its energy altered. "I perceive a formidable presence," Theresa commenced, her voice gentle yet distinct. "A maternal figure is emerging. She died unexpectedly, related to a chest condition. She desires her daughter to understand that she experienced no suffering. She claims she continues to sit next to you while you consume your coffee." A woman called Emily in the front row gasped. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she lifted her hand. "That is my mother," she murmured. "She experienced a myocardial infarction. I converse with her each morning as I drink coffee alone." Theresa approached her. "Your mother indicates that you have retained possession of her scarf." She desires for you to don it, rather than merely store it in a drawer. She asserts that it fosters a deeper connection to your heart. Emily wept uncontrollably, grasping her chest. It continues to emit her scent. I was uncertain whether to wash it. Theresa delicately rested her hand atop Emily's. She takes pride in your accomplishments. She perceives your strength. She wants for you to relinquish the guilt. There was nothing you could have altered. The studio fell silent once more. Theresa oriented herself towards the left half of the audience. A young man is present, an individual who succumbed inadvertently, an unfortunate incident. Perhaps an automobile collision? He repeatedly asserts, it was not your fault. Cease attributing blame to yourself. A man named Carlos rose unsteadily. That resembles my brother, he remarked. We engaged in a dispute on the night of his demise. I instructed him to depart. He collided with his bicycle while returning home. I have never absolved myself. Theresa's tone became gentler. He informs me that he has never harbored resentment towards you. He asserts that you were merely doing your role as a brother. He was aware of your enduring affection for him. Carlos commenced weeping. He was merely 22. Theresa acquiesced. He requests that you inform your mother that he is now well. He is with his grandfather. And the dog, Buster. Carlos emitted a surprised laugh. Only family members were aware of Buster. Throughout the event, other audience members recounted tributes to cherished individuals, a father who perished in combat, a best friend succumbed to disease, and a grandma who consistently united the family. Drew Barrymore also shed tears. This, she stated, is one of the most poignant days we have ever experienced on this program. At the conclusion of the program, Theresa spoke to everybody present. Grief persists, she stated. However, love does not either. Occasionally, what we require is a sign, a little indication from the beyond, to reassure us that people we have lost are never truly absent. As the audience erupted in a standing ovation, an inexplicable sensation permeated the atmosphere. It was not merely the enchantment of television. It was the sensation of spirits reuniting, if momentarily, across the tenuous barrier that divides this realm from the next. For those fortunate enough to get a message, it was an unforgettable moment. Nonetheless, on a brisk autumn evening in Long Island, Theresa Caputo readied herself for one of the most extraordinary readings of her career. She had conducted thousands of sessions for bereaved families, celebrities, and doubters. Nonetheless, this evening was distinct. She would be conducting a collaborative spiritual reading for 3 religious leaders for the first time, a Christian pastor, a Jewish rabbi, and a Buddhist monk. The event was arranged by an interfaith organization aiming to discover shared spiritual understanding regarding the enigmas of life, death, and the afterlife. Initially, Theresa was doubtful. What could feasibly amalgamate such disparate ideologies inside a single framework, particularly through the conduit of a medium? However, an inner intuition suggested that this evening would alter lives. Pastor Michael Green, in his early 40s, was a soft-spoken individual with compassionate eyes and a rich baritone voice that conveyed calm assurance. He has served his Baptist church in Georgia for more than 20 years. Rabbi Miriam Levi, astute and profoundly spiritual, bore the legacy of her forebears. She had recently buried her father, a Holocaust survivor, and found it challenging to derive solace from conventional rituals. Bhikshu Tenzin, a Buddhist monk hailing from Nepal, has observed a vow of silence for several years, interrupted just by the imperative of instruction. Composed, sagacious, and stable, he was inquisitive, not skeptical, regarding Theresa's talents. As they occupied the softly illuminated room adorned with candles and delicate incense, Theresa arrived, characterized by her distinctive voluminous hair and commanding demeanor. She smiled amiably and seated herself opposite them. I wish to begin by stating that I am experiencing chills throughout my body, Theresa remarked, closing her eyes and placing a hand over her heart. A potent male energy is manifesting strongly. Oh, remarkable. He is conversing with all 3 of you. The religious leaders exchanged perplexed looks. Theresa stated, He claims to be a soul who has traversed numerous paths in his lifetimes, and he serves as a bridge. Bhikshu Tenzin's eyes expanded in astonishment. A bodhisattva, he murmured. Theresa beamed.
Precisely that.
He is presenting symbols from all of your backgrounds. A cross, a Star of David, and a lotus flower. He asserts that love, truth, and peace are not the exclusive possessions of any singular faith. They reside within the human heart. Without warning, Theresa directed her attention on Rabbi Miriam. Your father has arrived. He is grasping a faded photograph of you and him on your bat mitzvah day. Rabbi Miriam inhaled sharply. I possess that photograph in my wallet. I have not exhibited it to anyone in years. He expresses regret for not discussing his experiences more extensively. However, he required you to exist unburdened by that suffering. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Subsequently, Theresa directed her attention on Pastor Green. A young woman is advancing. Your daughter, Emily. She succumbed in an automobile accident? Pastor Michael's voice faltered. Affirmative. 15 years prior. I continue to inquire of God daily. She claims she remains with you every Sunday. She perceives you utter her name softly during your sermon. She expresses pride that you maintained your faith, even in the face of heartbreak. He sobbed quietly. Ultimately, Theresa directed her gaze towards Bhikshu Tenzin. An elderly monk accompanies you. His garments are quite frayed, and he is presenting you with a bell. Tenzin shut his eyes in solemnity. My instructor. He died in the mountains. I never got the opportunity to bid farewell. He asserts that it is unnecessary. He is perpetually by your side. The bell serves as a reminder that silence does not equate to absence. As the reading concluded, a serene tranquility enveloped the gathering. The three leaders, each grounded in distinct traditions, were suddenly united by a profound connection, grief, remembrance, and love from beyond. Theresa stood, emotionally exhausted, yet spiritually gratified. I merely served as the messenger, she stated gently. However, this evening, Spirit reminded us that love transcends all religions. The pastor extended his hand towards the rabbi. The monk became a member. Three religions, previously unfamiliar, are now interconnected by invisible forces. As they exited the room, a gentle breeze wafted through the candles. No windows were ajar. Greetings, esteemed viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina, and I hope your day is going splendidly. If you like the video, please remember to subscribe to the channel.